yours, but not, I didn't bring mine. I don't have it here. Mine.
It's highlight because I don't know how to strike through.
I was. I keep thinking it's too close.
Okay, what is not coming? What is this?
Good evening and welcome to those in attendance. This is a special board meeting, specifically a work session. Today is Wednesday, August 7th, 2024, and the time is 5 p.m. And I call this work session to order. Mr. Legarreta, will you please call roll?
President Marquez,
Here.
Vice President Gonzalez,
Here.
Member Garay,
Here.
Member Montes,
Absent.
absent. Member Legarreta's here.
Okay, will we please stand for the pledge and the salute to the flag of New Mexico? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among cultures. Seated. Okay, before we begin, I just want to say that a board work session is in general is a venue for information to be presented and to allow the board members to discuss in depth the information provided. Board members are permitted and encouraged to ask clarifying questions and make recommendations. Also, during a work session, no action will be taken by the board during this session. And we'll go ahead and begin. And we'll go ahead and start with agenda item number 1, and specifically discussion of proposed edits to policy B 3050, B 3100, and B 1250. Before we do begin, Mr. Campbell, is there any way that you could bring up my email? And I don't have my the changes I made to that.
I can get you real quick. You can log in.
Okay, okay, so we'll go, yeah, we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Gonzalez, and he's gonna go ahead and discuss some of the proposed edits that he's thinking about, and we'll go from there, and this will constitute even a first reading when we go through here.
Okay, so looking at B 3050, board communications with staff members. What I did with this document, and I do apologize because I don't know how to use strikeout on my computer.
Neither do I.
You don't have one?
No, we don't.
Oh. Here's one.
The wording that is highlighted green is wording that I propose we put into the policy, and the wording that is in yellow is wording that I am proposing we remove from the policy. The big one is an employee should, and I really think that they should follow the chain of command. But I also believe that as board members, we should have that ability to hear a concern from an employee. Understanding that the chain of command is something that we are really trying to instill in them following. I've removed, I added in, I took out no anonymous, and I put anonymous communication will be considered by the board when legitimate safety and security concerns are evident. So, it's important that a community member can come to us when there is a safety and a security concern, whether it's anonymous or not. It has to be addressed. I put a lot of stuff in there that we're going to advise staff members to follow the chain of command, but I also feel that it shouldn't be insubordination if a staff member comes to us for help. I felt very strongly about that. We shouldn't threaten them with.
But you don't have the power.
We have the power to provide the superintendent with information.
Correct.
Yes.
But that still has to go through the chain of command.
It does, and it's in there. We're advising them to follow the chain of command. But what I'm saying is that I don't believe we should threaten an employee with insubordination if they come to us for help.
So you're opening the doors to everybody to come to us and not through the chain of command.
When legitimate safety and security concerns are evident.
To them, everything is legitimate.
Well, that's something that we as board members, we need to take into consideration, and we need to decide, is it a legitimate concern or not?
Well, how are you gonna know unless you listen to it? That's what I'm
That's right.
saying. You're
We have to
opening,
listen
but you're
to it.
opening the door to everything and anything.
Not everything.
And that,
everything.
that falls under personnel, where it goes to
And once
the chain
again,
of command.
before any of these changes are made, they will be vetted by our attorney.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, they have to be vetted.
So
They have-
we haven't
Oh,
even,
no,
we haven't
no.
even
This
sent
is
it
just
to
for
them.
No, we haven't sent it to them. This is just discussion and we're gonna go from there.
So why didn't we send it to them first? For them to even tell us that we can
Well,
even
I
make
did
changes
call the
to
attorney
this.
To make sure, and she said we needed to share it with all board members, that one of us just couldn't send it, or even me. She wanted us to all be aware of those changes. That's why this work session, those decisions. Just, heads up, I mean, to be, I guess, more another word, courteous to one another, that we're not trying to just ram things down without anybody else knowing what we're doing.
But it looks like you're already making
No, I-
changes.
These are suggested
suggested
changes. That's,
that-
they're brought to us for discussion tonight.
And Mr.
Brought to you
Gonzalez
by
said-
whom?
By me.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yeah, I'm bringing them to us, to the board so we can discuss them tonight. The next one is the 3100. And that one specifically says anonymous communication will be considered by the board when legitimate safety and security concerns are evident. That was the only change on 3100.
And what's the purpose of the 1250?
I don't have a copy of the 1250.
It was on here.
That's Richard's.
Okay.
So is there any further, sorry, I'm trying to, and I should have made a copy for myself. I didn't realize Elsa was going to be here and make that, be able to make those copies. So are there any questions that you guys, sorry, I missed a lot of this, but so you guys already discussed 3050 and 3100?
3100.
Yeah.
Again, I don't understand what the reasoning
Yeah,
for this. I
and-
mean, it's been there for, I don't know for how long it's been in there. And I looked it up in every other district. And it's the same.
It's the same.
So
Not every other.
what is it that we're doing wrong that we're having to change this? Because you're opening the door for too many people to come up to you in the middle of the street with your families and saying, well, you know what? I don't like those rocks on the sidewalk. And then, well, I don't like the way that teacher dresses, or I don't like, for whatever reason, you're opening a can of worms that belongs to the superintendent or to the principal at that site.
And once again, it will be vetted, and before we make any changes, it has to be vetted, and if it's not legit and it's not legal, or it's not in our lane, the attorney will be very direct and tell us that change cannot.
But what is the reasoning behind you wanting to make these changes? What is the reasoning?
Because as a board member, it's our job to listen to the community, and it's our job to listen to the staff without staff having to fear of being insubordinate, regardless of the issue. We know of the issues that are happening in the district right now, the way staff feel. We're trying to give them another avenue to find another set of ears to listen to some of the issues.
So you're.
And I
saying
understand that
they don't
not all
want
of the
to-
issues are legitimate, and not all of them are gonna be concerns, because they're not gonna directly impact the safety and the security of the district. That is where, as board members, we have to be responsible, and we have to determine, is this a legitimate concern that affects the safety and security
So where
of
do
the
you draw
district?
the line?
That is a personal basis.
And once again, remember that the board, if it does come back that we are allowed to make those changes, the board has to vote on that, to make that change. So we're not voting on that today, but the board, it has to be a majority.
You just said this might be meant for a first reading.
No, it's a first
It,
reading.
it can't be a first reading until it goes to the lawyers
That's not,
and then to the
Well,
the
um,
policy guys, and then it comes back.
Attorney Castillo told me something different. She told me that this can be considered the first reading because we made the changes. We send it to her. If she vets it and it's legal that we can do that, then we can, that's gonna be the second time we look at it. Because reading.
So in other words, you're already making the changes no matter what, is what you're telling me. You've already decided that these are the changes you want because you have the majority of the votes. That's what you're going for.
Well, we haven't decided anything because we haven't voted
Have
yet.
you made your decision?
Well, I mean, if it's
Because
the first reading, after the second reading, then, you know,
we-
you
but
vote.
still- Yeah, you vote, but we don't know how we're gonna vote.
This is the first I've seen it. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it before this.
There's Elsa. Good afternoon, Elsa. All right.
If I can just
Yes.
pipe in, there's just a couple of things that, and I think our lawyers will look into
Yeah.
it, but some of the things to just be, take into consideration is, the whole intent of House Bill 212 that, really defined the role and the responsibility of the board. I think on some of this, you're starting to get into some personnel stuff, which,
And
there's,
thank you,
there's
but-
some,
yeah,
there's some
we'll just- yeah,
issues.
yeah,
There
so
might be some
attorney-
concern there
yeah.
when it comes to personnel.
Well, hopefully, yeah,
And-
so we'll
and-
we'll give it to attorney and she'll let us
Right.
know, Mr.
Yeah,
Travis. Thank you.
and so just, just from that perspective and as far as anonymous reporting, we currently have a mechanism that people can report anonymously that through our the Speak Up app. And
And is that online? Is that somewhere where they can go on?
It's
check it
on
out?
the-
Okay, homepage,
Yeah.
okay. All right, thank you. Okay,
just wanted to put that in there.
all right.
But
Okay.
then what I'm afraid of, if a teacher comes and complains that so-and-so is being rude, whatever, without her, you can't, I don't know how you can be anonymous. If you want to make a change, then you have to be forthcoming. Right? You have to be forthcoming to say your name, because how are you going to follow the process? You're going to be anonymous the whole way? I just don't understand how you can go about being anonymous. And I can understand that, okay, you're afraid of your principal. Well, then you have your superintendent. Why can't you go to your superintendent? Unless it's the superintendent they have a problem with, then they come to you.
Mhm.
Correct?
Yes.
So why all of this if we already have a process?
No, I.
Again,
I hear your
I
point.
mean-
Thank you.
Because there's roadblocks in the process right now that
Which are,
have been used to stop the process from happening.
which are?
I'm not gonna discuss them.
Well,
in an-
if you can't discuss it, we're never gonna fix it. You're wanting to fix it blinded without us knowing the whole history and story of it. You're wanting us to make changes just because you're telling
You've
us to
sat in
make.
executive session with us and heard the same thing we've heard.
No, you
that's-
wouldn't name
that-
names
that-
because
that
you-
is-
it- that means you
You've heard
don't,
the
you
same thing
cannot,
we did in
you cannot
executive
make-
session.
I don't know how to word it. But you can't make changes on anonymous findings because it didn't happen. If it's not in writing with something to back it up, it did not happen.
I'm
It's a
not making
vote.
changes on anonymous findings, like
Well,
trying to make changes on policy.
Well, but you're not wanting to discuss and telling us, you're wanting to be transparent with the community. Let's be transparent. Say it, what it is, the reasoning behind you wanting to make these changes.
Because what was brought up in executive session, and I'm not gonna speak about that in public. Period.
It should be able to be spoken about if you're wanting to make changes for a certain reason. I'm not saying whatever was
And I
in
think
executive
we're
session.
kind of getting ahead of ourselves because it still needs to be vetted. And if it
Yeah,
comes
but you
back,
said it was a first reading, so you're already made the first step.
yeah, but the first step, the first reading may be wrong. It may be something that we can't even do. So even after the first reading, if it's not legal to do this, then there'll only be one
So-
reading.
so
And don't
why-
you need two readings before
But
you
why
vote on
didn't
it?
you send it to the come and say, what,
She-
can we
She
send it to
stated-
the
she
lawyer?
Stated I cannot look at those changes until you discuss that with all the board members.
Correct.
So that's what we're doing
You should
today.
have brought it like this and said, we're gonna send it to the lawyer to see what she thinks about it.
About what?
About
changes?
no, clean the way it was.
Oh, they already said it was good. I mean, but if we want to change things, we can, you know what I mean? So.
Okay.
We'll get that and it may be a moot point because we may not even be able to make those changes. For all we know. Okay, so I'll go ahead and go with B 1250, Mr. Campbell, if you could please put that up there. Watch me not be able to read that. And the change that I'm proposing, and it just to help with interpretation, because I had two different attorneys tell me two different things with this specific board policy 1250. So if you notice, it says the superintendent may on a needs basis delegate the responsibility for contact with the attorneys to a member of the staff. What I am proposing that same language be put where it says the board president shall have access to the attorneys. It would just be the board president may on a needs basis delegate that responsibility to contact attorneys to the member of the board. Simple as that. And then, so I'll send that to Mrs. Castillo and she'll vet that also. So that's the only thing that I'm proposing for board policy.
So you're just going to, for example.
Like if I'm incapacitated or something,
If-
if I'm in the hospital or something that it's kind of, we need somebody to talk to the attorneys and I can't give you the authority, then everything stops.
Okay.
But to that other attorney told me, no, Richard, that's not the way it works. If you delegate that, but it doesn't state it specifically. So she gave me that example. So what happens if you're in something, hopefully, something happens to you and you can't delegate that? So the board everything stops and I go, no. She goes, yeah, so that's not it just needs to be clarified. So everybody's on the same page. So when two attorneys look at it, they don't come to different conclusions. So that's a simple change. Yeah, and so like if you called me and said, oh, is it okay if I call the attorney? Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. And I know that our other attorney that presented to us before said that was something that we could do. But I just want to make it very clear. So there's no misinterpretation that's allowed. I don't know if you guys agree with that, just a simple change that
Mhm.
I think would help the board. And Ms. Ramirez, we didn't get those copies, huh? Oh, that's okay. But yeah.
How has
sorry.
it been in the past, Mr. Chavez? Usually it's just the president?
The way it's written there with the exception of the bolded, right?
Yeah, you do have it.
I
I
do
did
have-
send it. Yeah, I sent it to you guys, but I didn't make a hard copy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, just with the bolded.
So
you
it's
wanna
just,
see it?
it's
Yeah,
just,
I have it.
all
Go
it's
with the
done is
bolded.
it just adds.
I have it.
Oh, you printed it.
Yeah, I printed
Oh,
it.
you were smart. I didn't even print mine. Okay, yeah, so you have that. I don't know what you guys, but I'm gonna go ahead and send that. And once again, if she comes back and says, nope, that's not allowable, then it just stops there.
I mean, it's a simple, revision,
Yeah,
in my opinion. I think the thing to take in consideration though is, again, having one person speak
Yes.
for all five members.
Yes,
And so,
exactly.
doing that without the other five knowing what's
Knowing.
going on, I think might be something that you present to the attorney as well.
Yes, and not only that, just the cost. We don't want different, three of us calling for the same issue and being charged also. You know what I mean? So there will be things that.
And then, yeah, like Mike says, what if I call you tomorrow? Well, I want to call the lawyer. And you know,
Like,
that's what we
take
need to be transparent to each other.
Yeah, but
Is
then,
I'm gonna call the lawyer.
yes, but whatever response you get, you need to share that with us.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's, yeah, so.
Well, but
so
that, but that's
technically-
what I'm
And
saying.
you could probably tell me about it, but we can't go and discuss that with a third member. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I mean, then we start having a quorum, so it's.
No, but
yeah.
you could say, you know, Kuka had an issue, she's contacting the
Yeah,
lawyer.
Yes, that's it.
But then where did it comes where I call one day, you call the next day, he calls the next day, you know,
Oh,
and
no.
it keeps going and going.
No, but
When
at that
does it
point,
end?
no, like,
When
I
does
don't,
it
I would
end?
hope that the board would not abuse this change, and I wouldn't allow that. I mean,
Yeah.
I would question, I was like, that's a lot of money.
That's,
I think,
I'm just
First of
saying.
all, that.
I think another thing that you take into consideration is if you do have a board member that you've delegated to,
Mhm.
or takes it upon themselves to talk to one of the attorneys is the purpose of that contact.
Yes.
So if the purpose of the contact is to get information or advice from a legal perspective, that then will then be disseminated to
Yes.
the others.
And it's
I
the
think
same with
that's-
you, right, Mr. Chavez?
Yeah.
If you delegate that responsibility, you would expect the same,
Right.
right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so,
The difference here, though, I think the slippery slope is if you're looking to take action on something.
yeah,
And so that's different. That's,
Yeah, that's-
in my opinion, I think that would be something that would need to be transparent, where you would have all five members aware
yes.
of
And it
that
does, and
intent.
it specifically states that. Yeah, I mean, that it shall be the duty of the, where does it say that you have to be, what does it say? Okay, so legal advice, such request may be in writing, in person, or by telephone. The advice received shall be shared with the board. That's key. So if I allow one board member to call the attorney and it states on there, they have to share that information. And of course, if it's personnel, we'll do that in executive, if not, you know what I mean, but for the most part, it does state there that they have to share that information. And I think that's what we'll make sure and do. Okay. Any other? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion and I hope I get a second, the discussion for the flex pay, I really, that was Mr. Montes, really concerned. And he's not here and I rather save that for the board meeting next week. I really feel that would be in the best interest, because I know he was really concerned about that. So, I will.
Well, let me just ask, do you know what
I
the issue
don't,
was or anything?
I don't, I
We do
just,
have Mr.
and
Sanchez and,
that's, and
yeah,
like I
Okay.
told, I really don't know exactly, and I didn't understand by flex pay. I don't know if he's using the right terminology either. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what that means.
okay.
So I would just, I'm gonna make a motion to table 1B flex pay.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Okay, motion carries. We'll go ahead and table that for our next board meeting. We'll make sure and put that on there. Next, the board priorities. I don't have a hard copy, but hopefully I can remember them. But there was four priorities that we discussed at our work session back in June. And the very first one was student achievement. And I did change, I added a word, just success and student achievement, kind of mirror the measurements of student success and achievement, student, what was it? The measurements of student success and achievement. Namasa, so kind of mirror that. So I just put the word there, success. And I'm not sure if you guys agree with that. And if not, yeah, I mean, we can talk about that, but these priorities, we will have to vote on them. And so I kind of added that one word, and I know that wasn't at our work session. And then the next one, I believe, was the teacher retention. and
staff retention and.
Staff
recruitment.
and recruitment. And that's still one of our priorities, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and if you notice, there aren't any goals on there, because that's where we're going in executive session, to discuss the superintendent's goals. And I believe the next one I put stakeholders, I believe. Is that the third one?
Communities, parents, student and staff relations. I'm not sure if this is the updated one or.
No, but I put stakeholder, I couldn't remember all those four. I should.
There's-
What is
there's
it?
four.
Parents, community,
Community, parents,
teachers
student and
and
staff.
parents. No. Staff.
Community, parents, students and staff
But did they
relations.
have, did you have the one I put, just put stakeholders? So I wouldn't have to remember all those four. As priorities, it's hard to think, stakeholders, It's just that stakeholders are community, parents, students, and teachers, right, and staff. But the word stakeholder represents the same thing, but we don't have to. Once again, I just put the word, I believe, Ms. Garay has the one that I sent through email, right, Mr. Chavez, is that?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that one
correct.
also, I think I
Yes.
could put stakeholder just to make it easier for us to, when we're talking about what are our priorities and having to list all those four. It makes it difficult to remember that, in my opinion, but we can discuss that. And I think the last one was, I added the word safety. Coming from an educational background, I keep thinking about security, and I think I don't think of students when I hear security. I think more of property for some reason, and I don't, maybe it's just me. So I really wanted to add the word safety, because we have our safety plans, safe
Mhm.
school plans. It just, and I know coming from an officer, from a background as an officer, it's security, correct? Yeah, so I don't know if you guys, how you guys feel about adding just that one little word to safety and security. Kind of really,
I'm
and
fine
that's
with
just
that.
again. And I hope those are four priorities that we can come to agreement that we all, because we did work hard that day coming up with those four priorities for our district. And that we can move forward with that.
How are you going to make the parents fill out the surveys?
Oh, that's a good question. And those are things that we'll have to look at. And those are things I believe that we're gonna talk about in the executive session with the indicators, the superintendent's goals and indicators,
Mhm.
and kind of come to an agreement with that. But for our main purpose, we do have to have our priorities set for the school year, and I believe that we have four good priorities that really meet the needs of the community and our students.
Is that something we have to vote on to have those four
Yes,
priorities?
yes, I did. It was stated that those priorities should be voted on. And that way they're adopted.
I mean, is that
Yes.
tonight we vote
Oh,
on them?
no, this is just a work,
a read.
yeah,
Okay.
we're just, and once again, if we don't feel comfortable with the wording that's on there, we can go back to the original wording. I don't have I'm not, stuck on the wording. I'm not attached to it. I mean, but I just thought, when I think of, like, once again, the security, I just keep thinking of property and buildings. And when I see safety, I think of kids.
Right.
That's just me. And then success and achievement, I just think that really hits home what it's all.
On the 50%
Wait,
of it,
well, I took those off. Remember, we're gonna go and discuss that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that has to be
That's the old
discussed
one.
in executive session.
I sent you a new one without the priorities. I mean, without the goals. I took off the goals because we're gonna discuss our goals, right, Mr. Chop? Yeah, I
Huh?
sent an updated one, so.
this one?
No, just take, this is the older one. I sent another one. Yeah.
Okay, so you took this off?
Yeah, I took that off. We're not even looking.
So
at those
just
goals.
2, 3, and 4?
Yeah, those four priorities, and then we have to kind of discuss what our goals, what are our goals to reach or to meet those priorities.
Mm,
Yes, we have our four priorities. Now, what goals are we gonna set for those priorities? How do we know that those priorities are being met? And that's what we're gonna go into. So, any other discussions with items 1A and C?
No.
Nope. Okay, if I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session at this time.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Gonzalez,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Legareta. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we will now go into executive session pursuant to NMSA 1015-1.2 limited personnel matters. Specifically, the board will discuss the superintendent's goals and evaluation tool. No action will be taken, if any, until we return to regular session. We are now in executive session. Okay, I will entertain the motion to return from executive session.
So moved.
Second,
Moved by Mr. Gonzalez, seconded by Mrs. Garay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. The board will now return from executive session pursuant to NMSA 1015 1.2, where no action was taken. We are now in regular session. Item number 3 on our agenda, adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn
So
our
moved.
work session. Moved by
Second.
Mrs. Guy, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez, moved first by Ms. Garay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously 4-0. Meeting adjourned.